what's up? My name is Felicia and welcome to Fee's Birthday Bash. And tonight we are going to have a girl chat with some of my favorite girls. We're actually going to start by introducing ourselves. So let's go this way and let's loop around.
Hey y'all, My name is Sandra, aka Sans. And fun fact about me, I love apple juice and I drink all my juices out of a wine glass.
Okay.
It's getting better, bougie.
Hello.
All right, so my name is Felicia. I deal with me at Carolay. Some people call me Fee, people call me Deal with Me. And a fun fact about me is what? I used to be in the church choir when I was younger.
Hey guys, my name is JC. My birth name is Jamila, but most people call me JC. If you can't pronounce it, just keep it that
JC,
way.
okay?
If you can, you know. A fun fact about me. I'm an only girl, so yeah, it's cool.
Hi guys, I'm Christiana Diola, whichever floats your boat. Fun fact about me.
The birthday was your sister.
No, including
I was gonna say we're gonna go with that
about
because I don't have nothing else. Fun fact about me.
together. It's the Princeton.
I'm the oldest of four.
Okay, that's
Okay.
fun.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Princess. I go by Boston Princess, P Styles, however you want to call me.
All right.
That's my name. Fun fact about me. Wow. I lived in 4 African countries.
Oh,
What are they?
What are they? Let us know.
I lived in Liberia, I lived in Ghana, I lived in Guinea, and I lived in Ivory Coast.
Oh, that's so much fun.
Okay.
All right, my name is Adiola.
And my name is
Adiola want to roll with the geezer. Luckily, I'm the mature one in the group, so I'm gonna keep
Well, luckily we're
everyone
talking about
grounded.
maturity tonight. Let's see who's really mature. Anywho. But anyway, so we're going to get into a really, I think, a substantial conversation. And this is one of the many ways that we bond. We tend to have, we don't just go out and brunch and clink, like we actually have deep conversations. So we're going to let you in a little bit of some of the conversations that we have, how we tend to challenge ourselves and grow. So I'm just going to kick it off with the first question, and we're going to start about that end.
Can we be random?
Do you have to start?
Yeah, as I was saying, so the first question was, or is, and this is the question to the panel, to all of you guys, what is maturity and why does God demand it?
That is a deep question for the folks
Right,
too deep.
What
What happened to your post? Like, off the top of the head, it don't gotta be.
So basically, what is maturity? There's no right or wrong answer, just to you,
Yeah.
in your point of view, POV, as you're growing, as you're going through the year 2022, like what is maturity to you, and why do you think God demands maturity? It starts from you, so you're ready.
Yeah.
Okay, so to me, maturity is learning from a past version of yourself and evolving in a positive direction. And I think that God demands maturity from us, and I say think because his thoughts are not my thoughts. But I assume the reason is we are meant to learn and not go back to old ways. And so if we're growing and moving forward, that requires us to move in a certain direction.
Yeah.
And that's why I said I'm gonna stick to it.
All right, that's good. Yes, Brittany!
Nothing, yes.
Okay.
But I'm just gonna piggyback. She said it's growth. I also want to say I think going in the upward positive direction, but also understanding that that upward might come with little like turns. And I think that's how you know you're also, how you handle those little turns that might come in the upward is what really shows your maturity, and also accepting those little tweaks and turns that may come. So I think maturity is growth, but understanding that growth might not always be up, but sometimes there's a pause.
That's good.
So
Basically the acceptance part.
The acceptance part and accountability part.
That's
of
good.
that maturity.
That's good.
So I think
That's
that's
really
good.
good. I like that.
Yeah.
We're gonna circle back. What do you like?
Not the circle back.
I don't know how to follow that, but I was just gonna say I think maturity is growth, and I think God demands it because there's I don't want to say there's no room for stagnancy, but stagnancy is just not something that we should strive for. Whether it's in your spirituality or even in your personal life, like God doesn't want you to stay in the same place, right? He's always lighting a fire for you to. He's either making you uncomfortable or opening doors, whatever the case may be. But there's always a move somewhere. So I think the growth, the maturity, you need you need growth, which allows you to step away from that stagnancy.
That's good. It's like you're going in a direction, and how you're growing in that direction is basically what really matters. I like that.
I think everybody's had great responses, so I can only really piggyback off that. But for me, maturity is just the way you handle things. Like there are certain things the way we were in 2017 that God's like, you don't need to be handling this the way you did in 2017. I have given you wisdom. I have matured you. I have given you growth.
That's good.
And so there's no room for you to act.
You know better.
Yeah, like you know better. Like
Yeah.
And so for me, maturity is just the way that we handle things. Accepting accountability. I think accountability, you touched on that. Yeah, like being held accountable, and it's not easy. Maturity is not easy all the time. It hurts a lot of the time. So yeah.
That's good.
So you said something and it reminded me of something. I think wow, I just forgot. Holy Spirit, yeah. But I think maturity is action, right? It's always action oriented, and it always requires something of you. And so to your point, like it's not just the knowledge you know. That's not maturity, right? Maturity is stepping in and moving in that knowledge that you know, so that you are growing, so that you're moving into that better version of yourself. And the reason I think God demands it is that his purpose for us is to reflect him, right? Like we're made in his image. And so if we're staying in the same spot and we're not growing, but we're supposed to be the light of the world, what are they seeing? You know what I'm saying? What are we reflecting? You know, so God demands maturity out of us, right? Because we're called to be like him. So there's things that he places in our life that causes us to grow, or things he asks us to do. And we were kind of just in this conversation earlier that it doesn't make sense in the natural mind. It's like, is this really a sin? But he's requiring it of us, right? And the end purposes of that is for him to get the glory by one, making us look more like him. And actually that's really it, by making us more look like him. Like that's our purpose, to reflect Christ in all things. So that's what I think.
That's good. That's really good. I don't even know how to piggyback off all of y'all, but just to piggyback. What is maturity? What do I think maturity is? I'm really trying to think hard. Like, I know, like, just from experience, I'm trying to put it in words, summarize it in words. I think maturity is acceptance, just like everybody has said, is the growth, is the accountability, is the action that follows all of that. I think maturity is just, I think it's also understanding the depth of God, like all the facets of just the depth of God, like understanding it, being aware of it, and then pursuing it, if that makes sense. And that basically just encompasses what everybody has said, like just the action that follows, like whatever direction he's taking you in, like not fussing about it, but just growing towards that direction. And I think God demands it because, honestly, because of his love for us. Like there's certain things that he may want to do for us and even through us and with us, but he can't do it because of how like on the surface we are, or like we just haven't understood his depth. That basically we haven't matured, right? Which is basically what my definition of maturity is. So it's like I feel like it's just like his love for us, like He won't give us a blessing, or he won't send us anywhere that he knows will destroy us, right? And a lot of times we do things or go places and then we're upset with God, but it's like we were never ready and we did not submit or obey. So we really can be upset with God, especially when he's called us to deeper and we didn't grow towards that direction, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's my point of view.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
That was really mature.
I'm screaming. So next question, we're gonna start in the middle. So from JC or Giola, one of y'all pick a fighter. But next question.
Wait,
how-
I'll pick this. I'm joking. Go ahead.
I'm screaming. How has God been maturing you in this season?
Stop looking at me.
Me?
Yeah. Okay.
So how has God been maturing you in this season? I feel like even our definition of what is maturity comes from our experience of maturing. So I feel like it's all gonna tie in. So like just so like basically just like, you know, how has God been maturing? Like what's been your experience with maturity in this season, entering 2022, just the season of like not even the new year, just the season in general.
And we just said, and I really like that definition, like growing in the direction that God is calling you, which basically means submission.
Yeah.
Just feel like
Tomato.
no, in all seriousness though, how has God been maturing me in this season? I think God is causing me to be very still. There's certain things he wants me to do. And so like what I realized is like when God wants to do something, he doesn't want me to talk about it a lot, right? And so I kind of get excited about these things where like I want to share or I want to talk about it. But God's like, no, I need this between you and me and whoever I grant permission for you to share it with, you know? And so, yeah, I'm the type to get excited and be like, oh yeah. But I'm learning to like just keep things in prayer, keep it covered until until God manifests it and allows it to happen.
That's good. God manifested.
Yeah, no, because we don't manifest nothing out here. Yeah, and I guess just handling the way I've been handling certain situations. And are we like getting personal?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. But just the way I interact with certain people. Sick of y'all.
Do you guys want to speak for
Certain people, like I had somebody hit me up and I'm like, I just really don't want this door open again. So it's like the way that you handle that. Like, yeah, there's no beef. It's cool. Whatever happened years ago happened, but that doesn't, just because I don't have any beef with you, just because I've forgiven and there's no offense in my heart anymore towards you, doesn't mean that you're somebody who's supposed to be in my life. And so even with that conversation, I'm like, okay, conversation happened, conversation closed. Does it mean come and call me tomorrow? I'm not calling you, you're not calling me. Just because the enemy will use any little thing, any little door or any little gap that you leave open. The second he has that, it's a freaking show. So, and I've been through too many shows, so I ain't got time for shows.
No more shows. Turn the TV off.
Yeah,
Good.
so.
That's good. Very good. Thank you for sharing, Diola. Christiana.
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
Right.
Like, I don't like hear from God, so I can't even say like that's my thing. So, like, I can't pinpoint a way in which he's maturing me in this season because I can't decipher that at this current.
Can you identify a place where you would like to mature in this season?
That's good.
I feel like the stereotypical answer, like spiritually, obviously, but I think also like with like work, in relations, like it's not relationship, like relations with other coworkers and like higher ups and stuff like that. Just I don't want to say just keeping professional, but just letting things kind of be and kind of like just leaving it in that space and just allowing things to just happen the way it's supposed to happen, and not taking it so like to the chest kind of thing. So I think sometimes when things reach a certain limit, like not certain limit, or when things are happening a lot, because of what has happened in the past, I use that emotion to react to what is happening now instead of just letting that thing be a clean slate. So I think in terms of things like that and just keeping good relations in the workplace, I think that's something. But then I was like, yeah.
Can you give an example?
Can I give an example? I think it's, how do I give an example? Okay, so right now at my job, I'm a trainer, so I train people on how to use the EMR at the hospital. So I think there's a 100% expectation of excellent customer service. Like as a trainer, you're on one all the time. Like your job is basically a customer service job. So because of that, because you're always like, even when you go to the store, the customer's always right. No matter what the customer is doing, they're always right. And it's very hard to do that in a professional setting or think that way in that kind of setting when there's clear evidence, like clear doings of, I don't want to necessarily say they're wrong, but I think it's like not respecting people's time. And I think that is something that I'm trying to like, I think I had to also understand the role of management as well, but kind of I'm trying to figure out like, okay, if I understand, okay, I am supposed to be doing customer service all the time and I'm supposed to be very flexible and I'm supposed to be very lenient, yada, yada, yada. But also it's like, to what extent? Like, when is it like, okay, now you're doing a lot or you're taking advantage of my time or whatever the case may be. So it's me trying, am I being sensitive to the situation? Am I not being a good customer service representative? Like, what is that? So I think for me, it's just maturing in the sense that like at the end of the day, you are providing a service. Like your job is to give a service to the end user essentially. So I think for me, it's just trying to figure out, I don't want to say taking my emotions out of it, but that's like low-key the situation.
It's like you have a valid reason to feel a type of way.
But I can't feel the type of way.
You have to choose how to
Yeah,
the situation.
but sometimes like, I don't maneuver all that great. So
maturity in learning how to handle those
yeah, I guess. Yeah.
That's great. And even like outside of work, do you feel like your life is moving in a different direction than what it was maybe previously, in any to any degree?
Is it currently moving differently than what it was?
Do you feel
before?
like
This is about me now. What's going on?
Tell us more. I beg you. More follow-ups.
because she said that she's not able to decipher like what's the question?
What God is
like
telling
yeah
her.
sometimes that's the thing, like you feel like your life is moving in some way, whether it's forward, I don't even say backward, but just moving, whether it's different, right? Or what you consider good or bad, and maybe in between that you can see maybe how God is maturing you. Yeah.
Like something being highlighted. Like God doesn't have to like say like come down and be like, this is the area, but something in your life that you've been
That is flashing.
Noticed.
Yeah.
Just noticed.
That's
that
come
change.
up.
Yeah.
A lot.
You wait, look at me.
She said, you know.
Well,
Anyway, she can't speak for
I
you.
think now, like getting older, and like I feel like really now is when I'm stepping into adulthood. Like I'm kind of late to the party, but but I feel like I'm really like stepping into that adulthood life and like just moving forward with certain. Well, I don't really know if I'm moving forward, but moving with certain things. Certain things are moving right now that are very prominent. So I think for me right now, like a lot of it is like, what are you doing? What's your long-term plan? Like I think before it was very like, let me just get through this year.
Yeah.
Let me just get through this year. And now it's like,
What's the purpose?
Intentionality.
no, like intentional with everything though.
Yeah.
Like, right, like doing a retirement. Like everything is very future focused, right? And like it's like in hyper focus right now. So for me, I think a lot of things that have been very repetitive in this current state is like, what is your plan? Right. What is your long-term plan? Like career-wise, like mom's always saying, go to her school, nursing school, do nursing school, do nursing school. She be
Go to nursing school.
Everybody.
Everybody.
Anyway, no, everybody tells her. This.
Everybody tells her
this.
Finish.
My mom said it to my sister. There's a lot. Anyway, yeah, you should.
That like that, and just like like talking to like my partner about like what's our future. Everything is very like, and I've never really like thought that far ahead. My thing is like, let me just get through the year. Like that's always been, but now like I feel like what's been a prominent factor in my forefront is like that future.
I have a question. Why do you?
This is
No, because you're speaking in code. So my question. Yeah, you still need to help us understand. So it's very interesting you say that because like what I'm hearing is that God is calling you to focus more on your future, and it's something that's being highlighted to you because the way you typically work, you're only focused on now, right? So my question is like, why is that an area of maturity for you? Like, why is it that you don't focus on the future? Why is it that you don't plan on the future?
Oh, it just makes me very like
What's the word?
anxious.
Okay.
Like thinking about the future just makes me.
No, she's just doing stupid thing. Coming to you.
Like jellyfish.
Yeah, I think there's certain things about like the future that makes me very, very anxious, and because nothing is certain, right? Like absolutely nothing. So knowing that nothing is certain, but also having an expectation of what that future is supposed to be, I feel like those two don't mix. Like you have an expectation, but nothing is certain. Now, there's no way for those two ideas
disappointment.
Yeah, disappointment or like failure or like even like the idea of like, that's why like recently I think it's crazy because this has never been a thought before, but this, like the end of last year and this year, like this sounds so morbid, oh my gosh, but I'm thinking about death a lot.
We all think about that.
But like, oh yeah, I just think about, and I think now it makes me like, it's like one of those, now people are like, oh, we all gonna die one day. Now it's a scary thought for me. Like it's like, whoa, like we really just like one day just
gonna be 6 foot underground, not knowing what's going on.
Bro, like it's what like
and we talk about it all the time.
I think about it like it's almost like an everyday thought. So like that the idea of the future is just mind blowing to me, and it's such a big idea that I can't digest it. So it makes it like just very overwhelming for me.
So you're scared of the future.
Yeah.
And God is calling you out of your fear into expectation and into planning and into moving with faith. Basically, God is calling you to have faith because you cannot plan if you have no hope. You cannot plan if you have no faith expectation. What are you planning towards? I won't have enough. You won't even make the step if you don't believe you could get there. So God is calling you out of fear into faith, into believing that, like, have expectation. And sometimes you're right. It is scary to have expectation because it's like you just don't know what's gonna happen.
It's almost easier not to expect anything.
So then nothing. You're not disappointed.
Like I used to be like that.
Yeah, but you still did because you never move and you never get what it is that God has.
It's a different type of disappointment.
It's a different type.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So God is growing you out of fear into faith.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for sharing.
I'm gonna circle back and go deeper as we move along. No, leave out. It's princess. Please go.
Princess. What's the question?
What's the original question?
The question was how has God been maturing you in this season?
Chad.
Before we move up, and I want you to also know that I want you to also recognize that God is speaking to you through your life changes. Like I know people barely hear audible voice.
Yeah.
It's literally like.
And we talked about in church, like seasons is when we know it's winter, what happens? The leaves fall. It gets colder. We see snow. From fall happens, the leaves turn color. So it's about just being observant to the things that okay, whatever. To being observant to what's happening around you,
Mm-hmm.
and that's just really how you know when God is speaking. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's not always so. Sometimes it's
Loud,
like that, but
Supernatural.
sometimes, yeah, it's not so supernatural. Sometimes it's just like, what is happening to me, or like going through a certain situation, and you're like, sometimes you're so focused on the situation you can't see what God is trying to communicate to you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just looking at it, you know what I'm saying?
So yeah, speaking. Thanks for some.
Thankfully, yeah. It was good.
Princess.
I feel like patience and faith is where I am maturing, and they kind of go hand in hand in some way. I feel like right now, I'm learning to be more patient in believing in Him, and just I'm like we said, maturity is growth, right?
Yeah.
I'm at a stage where I'm like, I need to keep going and going and going, right? And within that going and going, I'm a patient person, but I'm patient in areas that are like surface level kind of thing. But I'm not patient in area when it comes to Christ, if that makes sense. So in maturing up and up, I'm always like, oh my God, like,
Where's it at?
what's going on? Or where was it at? And it's so funny because Hebrews 11 is my favorite Bible verse. And I don't apply it, kind of thing, if it makes sense. Yeah, it's like, I know I love the verse, but I'm not applying it. So I think that's where God has me right now, where it's like, you have to wait. You have to understand. You have to believe. You have to have faith. You have to kind of know me, kind of thing, if that makes sense.
That's
You know, and so I think that's where my maturity is coming in more just having faith and understanding Him and believing in, because we said we believe Him, but do we really believe in who He is, kind of thing. So I think that's where my maturity is. But yeah.
So it's kind of like be a doer, not just a hero.
Not just a sayer kind of thing. Like do and do diligently. Like don't just rush through it.
That's
through the
good.
process, kind of thing.
That's really good. Thank you for sharing.
Wait, before you move forward, what is in Hebrews 11 that is like?
Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So, yeah.
It's the evidence of things not seen.
Yeah, and the other thing, and it's like we believe in God if we don't see Him. So it's like that alone. It's like that's the evidence we don't see most like walking around.
Yeah.
So it's like that's where's the faith. If
No, go ahead.
but yeah, if it's like one of those, it's like that's the evidence you don't see. So that faith, where does the faith play in when it comes to Him? But for me, it's like I don't see Him, so my faith is like, it's like, all right, I'm just like when things happen, it's like, okay, I'm here, but it's like, all right, where you at, or what's really going on, kind of thing. So, but yeah,
What part of that is really speaking to you?
she was just related.
I never want to know.
It's good question. I go look.
Thank you.
Raymond. Anyway,
Y'all pulling out the Facebook notes.
for that. So, it's the evidence of things not yet seen. It's a conviction that you have in your heart. And, I was sharing with you that in this season, like just the reminder that the Lord is with me. Like, it's like we say these things, the Lord is with us, and we believe it when good things are happening.
Yeah.
But where is that conviction when you go through trials? So when you were reading that verse, literally the word that popped into my head is conviction. There is a knowing. You cannot see, but you're convicted in your heart that God exists and God is with you and that God is good and that God will do what He said He would do. And so when you said like something about just like kind of like where are you, or like we're going through situations, and I sent the verse to you, just a reminder of like God is with us. And I said this to you, and I'm just going to say in general, like in Isaiah 41, right, the Israelites are in captivity, right? They're losers. They're in a situation where they're defeated. They've been defeated. And here in their defeat, in a place that's not their home, in a place that's uncomfortable to them, God is speaking a promise of he's with them and that he's doing a new thing. And it's like, how could you be with me? How could you be doing a new thing if I'm in captivity? Right? So God speaks a good promise, but in a barren land. And it's like, though your external circumstances is telling you something different than what God is telling you. But and even in that Isaiah 41 to 43, God, the way he stands on his verse is he falls back on who he is. Going back to maturity and depth of your knowledge of God. Like he says, you know, like, Coach, talk to me. Like, you know, what can you say? What can you do? He talks about all these idols. Like, who are you compared to me? This is what I've done. This is what I've done. So he talks about the greatness of who he is. And in his greatness of who he is, he tells them, you can trust me. That even though this is what you see in like a day, right? Even though it won't be a day, but in like a day, things will shift. Behold, I'm doing a new thing. Do you not perceive it? Right? And so I think like when you were talking, just, do you have a conviction, a knowing of the Lord is with me? You know, like I would think about like Paul in prison, and like Paul is there and he's glad. Like, what? If you put me, I'm calling my mom crying. Like, get me out of here. Like, you know what I'm saying? But he knew his purpose and he knew God. And I was watching something. It was like someone said he was so he knew where his end was, which was heaven, and he knew his purpose here. So he could say whether to live is Christ and to die is gain. And that is so powerful to me. Like, sometimes even like, do you know where you're going? You know what I'm saying? If you really knew where you were going, the life you live, like, you're able to take on so much more because of that conviction. And it's like, what are you not truly convicted about? And the Lord kind of shows you that through trials. He shows you where your heart really stands through all these things. And it reminded me of, I'm going to end now, but I think it's 2 Corinthians 5 or something like that, where it's like, it basically talks about have endurance builds patience, and patience a confidence, right? And I remember when the Lord finally like opened my eyes to what that meant, is when we go through trials, we have to endure, we have to have patience, and that patience builds character. Why? Because the Lord reveals more of our hearts to us, and after revealing more of our hearts to us, we cannot say, Lord, like, woe is me, like, I need help. And he now begins to transform us. The more he shows us who we are, right, the more we can go under transformation, the more we can stand and have faith and say our conviction in where our future ends, right? Because no, and I'm kind of going tangent, but like, no son of Christ, no daughter of Christ can have a conviction about where they stand if they don't know who they are. Does that make sense? And in trials, God reveals who you are, right? He reveals what's actually in this heart of yours. Does that make sense? Like it, like the Bible talks about in 1 John that like, how can light have to do with dark? Like, how can you say that you're a child of God, but yet you're walking in sin? It's impossible. Like, that person is a liar, right? And so it's through these trials that God really shows us. And some people literally are just completely done with Christ. Like, he begins to show us what's actually in our hearts. Some people, they want the hand of God, right? Like the Israelites, but they don't know him, right? And so it's like these trials, if everything is taken away, like, is your plea, like even in Job, he says, naked I came. Like, and like, basically you have taken away from me how I came. Like, I can't curse you out of my mouth, you know? And it's to say all that to say, like, God is doing such a greater work, and in our message, and I'm not going to share it, but like that part where he was just like, the song that kept ringing, I will exalt thee, to me, that was so powerful, because it switches your focus on God, I want this, into what your real purpose is, which is to glorify God. And sometimes we get so into the, I need my purpose on earth, we forget our ultimate purpose, you know, which is glorification. And so that was just so good. It's just like everything new focus, and so when you were talking, it just hit me like, what are my convictions? Am I so convicted in the goodness of God? Am I so convicted about God is with me, and he's been telling me, like, I am with you? Am I so convicted about that if nothing can shake that conviction? Somebody can say, I'm gonna kill you tomorrow if you, and I'm like, God is with me in this. I'm about to be slain. I'm so convicted. And that Isaiah 41 has really been on my heart. It's literally my screensaver and everything. Like, God is with me. And it's just the constant reminder, because so many things will try to take that truth away. and that's the enemy, like to have that lie in our hearts, and sometimes the lie is there and God needs to expose it so he can address it and reaffirm who he is in our hearts. So that's what was hitting. You're very annoying. Exactly, man.
I was kind of clapping. I was like, I don't want the side eye right now.
Okay,
so.
great.
Still got it anyway.
Thanks for sharing. So Dola,
Dula.
can I please have you next? How has God been maturing you in this season?
Okay, let's answer this question.
Let's do that.
Let's do that.
Let's dig deeper.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
I think that
Take your time.
it's really funny because I think that like there was no like gentle entering of the new year. Like I feel as though immediately there was a lesson to be learned. Like, is it February? Yes. Like New Year started off with a bang, really. And if I think about the lesson that he wants to teach me, I think it's almost the opposite, like the inverse of you, where I think too, like, I'm very future focused and very like, I want this and this is how it should be and this is what the future should be like. But in the present, I don't think I focus enough on the present, on where I am and what I'm doing in the current moment. Yeah.
Is there or are there things in the present that you're trying to escape from?
That's a villain. I honestly, this is a real answer, is I'm really trying to understand what that is, because I'm sure there is that thing in the present, but it's possible that I've been avoiding it for so long that I really don't know what it is. But I will say, in a few things that I've learned already this year, I'm not very, I just like to use the word keen because UK people use it. But I don't know how to use it correctly, so just follow along. I'm very keen to, never mind.
Keen on.
You're prone.
Yeah, keen on, yeah.
I do not, I feel like there's a level where things get deeper, and that is to me when it's time to move to the next thing. Yeah.
I didn't understand that.
So
Is there a follow-up question you could ask?
Yeah, start screaming. So it's like you're trying to, you don't sit through anxiety long enough. You try to avoid it.
It's not even avoidance. It's more of like my solution to it is what's the next thing. Like
I guess what my question is what do you mean when you say deep enough? Like, what is an example of something that is so deep enough that you're just like you're not sitting too long? Like I'm trying to understand that.
Can you rephrase the question?
I'm screaming.
I guess because you said that when things are deep, that's you try to not avoid it, but you try to just move on from it, right?
It's not like okay, there's the deepness, like I'm running. It's mostly like I think that in a lot of processes, there's a time where like you could keep going, or there's a place where you dig in. And I don't think that I dig in. I'm mostly just like, okay, I've done this. Now off to the next thing.
Can you give an example? Because I'm not understanding. Like, what do you mean dig? Like, what aren't you digging into?
I'll give an example. One of them is a mentor that I have at work, right? And it's like, yeah, thank you for, agreeing to be my mentor. Or we created a relationship where it's, I like you, you like me, you're invested in me, and like, we're invested in this relationship. And to me, it's like, great, thanks for the agreement of this investment. Now, you're my mentor. And now it's like off, instead of digging deep into like, oh, I need your help with this, or this is something I'm planning on doing, or like making that relationship and taking that and like rooting it in something. It's mostly just like, okay, this relationship exists. Thanks.
And
And now off to the
Like
next.
being more intentional in that deep moment kind of thing.
Yeah, or like
intimate
allowing,
building.
intimate. That's the word. That's the word. Because I remember Googling intimacy issues.
No, I was Googling stuff too. Like, am I dealing with rejection or abandonment? Because me, I need to know
What's happening?
what's happening to me.
Yeah.
The tissues in my bedroom.
And you have to come back.
Of course, the Kleenex.
It's in the bed. It's in the bedroom.
Not her going that way.
Imagine though, she just keep running through the bathroom.
So she ended up being all alone. Not for real.
She ends up on 120.
Oh my God.